Hi, Lesley. It's so lovely to have you here.
Thank you, Rose. It's wonderful to be here. Lovely to see you again.
Yes. Yeah, I think I really wanted to have you in this series because you played such an important part of my business journey. The whole of 2022, I think it was. I
Yes.
did a program with you, a 9 month program, and it was all about digging deep into the roots of how to build a business, and it was you and Dawn and a lot of experience shared from your side, which I held dearly, to all those learnings, and it has a massive impact in the way I run the business, by the way.
Fantastic. Good to know. Bootcamp to Boardroom has been a massive success for our Over the Rainbow business. So it is lovely to see people like you that have really learned and grown, because that's obviously, what we stand for, is helping businesses scale. And you've
Yeah.
done such a great job, Rose. Super proud of you.
Thank you so much, Lesley. I thought this conversation would be really nice because we obviously unpack a lot of your journeys, you and Dawn, but at the same time, we never really focused on, okay, Lesley, tell me your journey with a company. It has always been like chunks of how do you do marketing, how do you do sales. But it would be really nice if maybe as introduction as well, you can let us know about your business experience. I know we're going to focus on the one particular business from an HR point of view. So I'd love to hear a little bit of your just background in general.
Well, I started my business in 1998. I'm really aging myself now. So I've actually had the business for 26 years this year. And honestly, it's just been the most incredible journey. I'm no longer operationally involved, but I am still a majority shareholder. And, I think it goes to that old saying, you rise by lifting others. And so soon, I almost worked myself out of a job because, I had some people, my CEO who's taken over from me now, has been with me for 18 years. And, it was time for her to step into my shoes. And, it just gave me much more of a chance to go and do the work that I do in Over the Rainbow and give back to other entrepreneurs, which is what I really, really love. But still having a, majority share in an agency is a super great thing to have. But, learned a massive amount of lessons along the way. Definitely a lot around the people side of things, because as small companies, they don't often have HR managers, and this is something that you do so well. And but massive learnings along the way. And I think business is easy and the people are hard, and so you really do need to get that right. And I think that some of the questions that we've discussed today, the first one being, how did the people practices in my agency change during my time as CEO? And that's such a great question. And I'm going to actually relate it to a story, because I didn't realize how much I changed until one of my staff actually left and then came back. And she left for her own reasons, and she went and joined another agency, and it took her about 3 or 4 years, and she came back. And she then sort of come back at a much higher level, and she was on the management, the Manco team. And we took the Manco team out to dinner, and I happened to be sitting next to her. And she turned to me during the dinner and said to me, "Sure, Les, you've really changed, and the business has changed." And I said, "Oh, wow, in what way?" And she said, "Before you used to focus on your clients, now you focus on your people." And
Wow.
because we'd obviously grown and we'd scaled, and I think it was just such a beautiful sort of reaffirmation of, if you look after your staff will look after your customers. And I'd really had started putting my staff first. And my agency now is called Happy Friday, and it's absolutely about making people happy, making our staff happy, because if we have a happy team, we know that they will make our customers happy. So it really became something that was ingrained in everything that we did, especially once we had grown.
Yeah, I hear you. Uh, it's really interesting to hear. You have your business for so long, and I have been 8 years in my business, and I recently did this exercise of a company evaluation. But what I got to, which was really interesting, is to think, why do you have the business, and for how long do you want to have the business? Is this a business? They were saying there's three reasons why you would exit, and one of them was legacy? Would you want to pass it down to someone else to continue building? And that seems to have been your case, that you have kept the business for really long. You have in the business shaped people to take over your role so that the business can continue. And that is, in a way, the most altruistic way of building a business, wanting it to continue and giving it longevity, because that has a lot of sustainability in mind. You're not just building something to, okay, here we go, now I build an asset and now I get my money for it. You're actually building because you want to continue adding value and bringing people on board that sees that vision that that you see. So
Yeah.
that's quite something that I can only imagine how you look back at all the years of hard work, 26 years. And what a sense of pride to have built a business that continues to add value, to play a role in the market that we are. And as you said, build the people that can take over you, right?
Yeah, no, it's been super, super rewarding. And, people that have been there for 10, 15 years and how they joined as real juniors and now holding, management positions on the Exco team or even on the Manco team. It is really, really super rewarding. And I think that's what it's all about is nurturing people, seeing them learn, seeing them grow. And one of the beautiful exercises that we do at the beginning of each year is everybody gets to pick a word, for that becomes their word for the year. And I remember a couple of years ago, one of my quite junior staff, she picked her word confidence. And she said by the end of this year, she wanted to have grown in confidence. She wanted to be able to present to clients. She wanted to be running an account by herself, not just being an assistant. And through that year, every opportunity she had, to present, we would let her, and we would really open those opportunities up for her. And within 2 years, she was actually running a massive account. I don't want to say the name, but she was running one of our big accounts, running her own events, running this account all by herself. And just because we'd helped her instill that confidence in herself and believed in her, and there in turn, she just became this real superstar.
Hmm. Yeah, I think what I see, that approach obviously takes time of you or higher management to nurture people like that. I'd love to know in terms of how you grew your business from no staff to how many staff members does the business have now?
So pre-COVID, we were almost 50 staff. Obviously COVID did affect us, but I think we're almost back up at about 30 in our team now. I think we've been a little bit more, a little bit wiser about how we hire. We've got more of a sort of a concertina approach now, that when we get big projects, we hire in freelancers, and when we're sort of doing much of our day-to-day, we keep the core team around. So I think we've been quite smart about that. But yeah, just getting back to your question, I think how do we teach them, and how do we ensure that they are growing? And I think it's training is such a massive part of, and it's not so much formal training, it's sort of on the job training, and that buddy system, and a mentorship approach to them gaining that confidence and learning and growing on the job. So I think that's the training side is, and everybody having that time to spend with people, to get them to know the business, get them to know the clients, so that they can reach their potential.
Yeah, I think the one thing with training that kind of makes me think of is this thing of walking the journey with a person, because it's about always linking what is the business striving for, but at the same time, what is this person striving for, and trying to match those and make it like a really good match. So that means that you are there walking their life journey and also the company journey. So it is a time investment that you need to do. I wanted to ask you, when you mentioned mentors, is that the executive team from your company, the management team, or do you get external kind of coaches, mentors to play that role for your people?
It's mainly the management team. If they do want an external person and they've identified somebody in the industry that they really like and really admire, then we will absolutely help connect them with that person. But mainly it is the executive team that does mentor and coach the younger, the up and comings.
Lovely. And yeah, I also found really interesting this thing of, that it was almost a reflection someone had on you, someone from your team, to say, you were focused on customers, now you're focused on team. When did that happen, in terms of like what size complement did you have? Because I can understand when you start, it's really all about, like the lifeblood of the business is sales. You need to be there acquiring and
Yes.
retaining clients. And then there's a stage where I guess the business matures, and then focusing on your team means that it has that effect, because maybe you also build a sales team and a marketing team. So when did that happen, that you could focus inwards and not so much outwards? What actions also needed to happen for you to be able to do that?
I needed to give up the day-to-day project management of some of our big clients, which was super hard because, you think to yourself, you've landed this massive account, this is your business. I was very much on that sales team. I was very much landing the clients, going to see them, doing the presentations, and then, doing the work as well. So getting the work and being part of that project management. And it was only when I realized, well, I'm not going to be able to grow my business if I keep on doing the work. So I needed to replace myself. And that was hard because as entrepreneurs, we can be quite controlling because nobody does it as well as you do. Well, little did I know that, if you hire the right people, they can do it even better than you can. And that was, such a realization for me is I can't do both. I can't, look after my team, look after the strategy of the business and the growth if I'm constantly being pulled into the nitty-gritty. And that was a massive turning point for me. It was hard, but I knew it had to be done. Otherwise, we would have stayed small and more of a lifestyle business instead of growing into a bigger,
Yeah.
a national business.
Probably the one advantage because of your industry is that you were project management clients on the operational side, but it was related to marketing strategies. So in a way that probably helped when you stepped, like away from that function, because your sales function probably had a lot to do also with your operational function. So it was just that kind of like, just saying, okay, you handle accounts and I'm out there selling.
Instead of doing it for them, we had to then do it for ourselves. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, absolutely.
I must say that also I find that when, for example, I'm in HR and developing the marketing and the sales skill set has been a massive learning, right? The last 2-3 years. And because it doesn't come natural, right? Like I study something different. I take care of people. I'm not, so I guess it is a competitive advantage that you have when you are coming from the field because you understand it. And yeah, I also interviewed someone that has an HR business, but her background was in sales and marketing. So, to start a business with that background, it's quite a nice advantage or skill set to have, right? Because then that you're always going to be focused on your sales pipeline, making sure that you're nurturing contacts and to grow your business. But I can understand how the operation, because you care for your clients, absorbed a lot of your work. And then there was a moment where you had to go, no.
No, you're absolutely right. But I mean, what you're doing here today even is such a great tool for your marketing, because you're elevating your profile and because sales and sales sometimes seems to be such a sort of a like a swear word in terms of a lot of entrepreneurs don't like actually selling, but sometimes you have to give to receive and you've got to problem solve, and as long as you're delivering value, people will come to you and building that trust, and that to me is building that value, delivering on your promises. And what you're doing here is very much on the sales and marketing side, but you're doing it in such a beautiful way that you're adding value to people's lives. So it's lovely to see.
Thank you. And then Lesley, maybe on this point as well of growing your teams, growing your company, when you step more on the sales and marketing for your business took off. And how was that experience of building a team that would help you, land clients and on the sales function?
So I learned a lot of lessons on the way on that one, really a lot of lessons, and the because in the early days, you want to hire people who are like you, and you don't go through any process, and it's just, oh, you look nice and you look like you've got the right background, and 3 or 4 or 6 or a year later, it's been a bit of a disaster, and that you haven't either trained them properly or you haven't hired correctly, and they're just the wrong fit for your business. So those that pain and suffering is going to happen, and it does happen in small businesses because we don't really know what the right process is. But as we grew, there were 3 things that I did that I think really helped us hire better. One was having a proper hiring process in place where a minimum of 3 people had to be interviewed. Then having them let's say there was a shortlist created, and having them do a strength finder, because in my experience what I found was, if you do the Gallup strength finder, and I'm sure there are lots of tools out there, we just happen to use the Gallup strength finder, the influencers, executors, relationship and strategic thinkers. And what I was doing is I was hiring sort of influencers because they were a lot like me and nobody was going to be really doing the work. But what I really needed was executors, because I needed, I was going to get the work, but I needed people to do it. So once I put that in place as well, is that proper, a test in place. And then we also did what we called a coffee test. So they got through the first interview. Now we've made sure that from a strength point of view, depending on what the job was, obviously, that they fitted the right criteria. And the third thing that we did, and which I really loved, is we did what we called a coffee test. And just anybody in the team, 3 or 4 members of the team, would take this potential person to coffee. And we only asked them one question when they came back from the coffee: would you sit next to this person at the Christmas party? And if anybody said no, we knew they weren't a culture fit. So we needed to ensure that they were a strength fit. We needed to ensure that they were a culture fit. And then obviously, that they were the right candidate for the job. So those were the kind of things that I put in place further down the line after having made a few mistakes along the way.
That's a very creative way to go about recruitment. And I often find you need to be quite an out of the box thinker to land recruitment right.
Yeah.
Because I believe that anybody really can go through an interview and, sell you a beautiful picture of what they can do. And there's also these, well-known facts that when you recruit, there are, certain things that you're looking for, and then you preempt them in the person you have in front of you just because you have a need for that role. So you
100%. Yes.
to work out.
But I think it's also important, Rose, and this we do in our training, and honestly, is understanding your values and understanding the values of the business, and what are the things that are non-negotiable. Like for us now, it's creativity. I mean, you have to be creative. It doesn't mean to say, even in the accounting department, I mean, we don't really want creative accountants, but are you a creative thinker? Do you think differently? And for the actual creatives, obviously but for everybody in the team to be able to think out of the box, exactly what you're saying. And teamwork. I mean, can you work in a team? Because in an agency, you need the copywriter, and you need the person making things pretty, the designer, and then you need the project manager. So teamwork to us is so massively important, because without that teamwork and without that trust, we can't deliver a great product. So all of those things and the values that we held dear to us. So if in an interview we said, are you more of a team player or are you more of an individual? And unfortunately, the people that said, no, I prefer working on my own, that just wasn't going to work for us. So it's so important to understand your values so that you know what you can hire and fire on, and make sure that from a culture point of view and from a team point of view, that it's going to be a good fit.
Yeah. I really like what you're saying, and also how you put it in terms of hire and fire, because it's also this thing which we have a legal framework to work with. So when it comes to, let's say you made a hire and it's not working out, right?
Yeah.
And I know that you in your agency, you have adopted the approach of nurturing people, but there's sometimes that, I mean, in 26 years, I'm sure that you have stories to tell of when it didn't work. And again,
Absolutely.
it's not a fire on the spot, right? Like you have to walk a process. So I love
Yes.
for you to share some insights in terms of, what learnings from working with our legal framework, and when you spot that something is not working out, how do you go about it?
No, Rose, I mean, as you say, it's a process. And I think when you're running a small business, especially in the early days, you don't have time to go through that process because now you've got this person in your team that doesn't fit, isn't doing what you want them to do at the way you would want them to do it, or your clients are just not getting on with them or whatever, but you've still got to follow this process. I have been to the CCMA, I have sat in that CCMA, I have played that blood money so reluctantly, and yeah, and unfortunately, you've just got to, because you've got to follow a process. You can't just go and fire people. I mean, there are people, luckily, sometimes where I just went to them and probably right against any HR policies and just said, look, this is not working, and luckily they were like, okay, I agree, fine, let's part ways and let's go. But there were others that absolutely knew that the CCMA was there, and they were going to milk us for every, if we didn't follow that monkey puzzle, they were going to, get us at every turn. And that did happen to me on two occasions, and where I had to get my lawyer and pay the blood money, and and unfortunately part on not very great terms. But luckily, in my 26 years, I've only had that happen to me a couple of times. Definitely learned lessons, and that's where it takes you back to hire slow, because it can come back and bite you if you hire too quickly and they're the wrong fit.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I feel like when people go through the experience of the firing experience, there's a lot of skill set required to do it, a lot of knowledge and experience to get it right. And from a nature point of view, what we are looking at is a time efficiency for everybody, right, in the process as well. We always assess worst case scenario, and then we try and do, from a time efficiency point of view, what actions to take. And what I feel is it's an emotionally draining process as well. Just
Yes.
because of, like, you are literally, when you go to CCMA, you have to have a case prepared, and it's undoing a lot of things that happen, and you have to really have your ducks in a row too. And that's, again, the time efficiency point of view, the emotional drain. So it's a highly complex process to go through.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like once you have gone through a few of those, not necessarily CCMA, maybe just internally, but going through the process, you find a real appreciation for what it means to engage with people in employment, have the hard conversations, and you build a really important skill set, in my view, where when it's done with care and respect, it feels like there's a sense of, like, maybe the word is respect, right? I do feel like you have a mature business when you're able to have those conversations, if that makes sense.
100%. And in the early days, you don't realize these kind of things. There you go off on your on your journey and wanting to do something fun and cool, and down the line you kind of learning as you go. And that's why I think understanding the HR and understanding these processes and understanding all this can save you a lot of time, a lot of trouble down the line, and understanding how to do these things properly can really be vitally important and so valuable for any small business as well.
Yeah, and that is very much towards our context, because you look at other countries and the experience can be very different, where you don't have to walk through these processes. But I do believe in SA we have this massive respect for our legal framework. And I always say, once you know how to work with it, there's nothing to fear. It's just a process that you need to know.
Yeah,
But it does add an advantage if you're not the one that has to learn through the experience. You either have an advisor, an HR team that will, like help you liaise with those cases. Now,
absolutely.
I would also love to know, because we're speaking more of the reactive practices of HR and with the termination side, but I'd love to know, what are those HR practices on the more active side that you as the founder have put into place in your company? You did mention the coaching mentorship side,
Yeah, yeah.
but what else is there that you would recommend any founder to be like, this HR practice has really changed the way we go about business?
Okay. So this only also came, sort of 5-6 years into my business, and I really didn't understand the importance of it until my team started saying, wow, this is amazing. So number one, absolutely have a job description. So make sure that they know exactly what their job title is, and exactly what their job description is, and there's total clarity. Okay. We also implemented into our business an expectation exchange, and I love that, where, especially if I was hiring more senior people, towards the end of when I was the person hiring, where you would really sit down and speak about your expectations, that and your expectation of them, their expectation of you, and what they expected from a company point of view as well, and expectation exchange. I found that very, very valuable with my senior team. And then the other thing that honestly I didn't realize was valuable at all was doing reviews and KPIs, and sitting quarterly and having those one-on-ones with everybody. I just thought it was a big fat waste of time in the beginning. And the first time I did it, I mean, it honestly did take me the entire day, and allocating half an hour per person. And I sat at a off-site, and they would need to come to me one by one. And I was like, you're to be kidding me. I've got to be, interviewing 20, 25 people, and, finding out how they are. Meanwhile, I see them every day in the office. But Rose, it was a game changer. They had the airtime with the CEO that cared about them, to know, any issues, and have a proper feedback, full transparency. How are you doing? What would you change in this business if it was your business? And this is where I think you can improve. And I honestly believe that was absolute waste of time until I did it, and it was an 100% a win. Slam dunk. I mean, everybody, the feedback from the time we implemented those meetings, those KPI meetings, it was just fantastic. So yeah, and then a 360, that full sort of view on what where you, because we had a saying in our business as well: feedback is a gift. And it's very quick to criticize somebody, but you've got to take it the right way. And when you say it in the right way, this is where, don't tell me how, great I am. I know. I know what I'm good at, but tell me where I can learn and grow and improve. And I think that when we ensured that everybody knew that feedback was a gift, and that we were just trying to help you to learn and grow and be better, it just became such a great culture in our business as well, that we were all wanting to push ourselves.
I love what you're saying, because I can understand the mindset of founders, that there's always this, where you put your time on it obviously is a valuable resource. And usually speaking, HR practices can be seen as almost, they're not revenue making, so we don't pay attention to that, right? But I do think for those founders that give it a try, and try these practices, and the fact that you were yourself involved in the process, they really are game changers. If you put yourself in the shoes of an employee, and now you get direct time with your CEO, just to speak about yourself, right? And how things are, how you're performing. And as you said, where are those gaps in terms of where could we be taking you, and discussing company vision. It can only do ripples effects in the way this person performs in the business.
100%. And you are absolutely right. What we've believed, from that point of view, could be a waste of time because, we could be out selling or doing everything. But it proved to be absolutely invaluable. And just another quick story. I mean, I have a nephew who's just recently, he's like 26 years old, and he's just recently joined also quite a small business. And he was invited to be part of their strategy day. And I mean, he came back absolutely, beaming, and, felt the inclusion and, part of that journey with them. And it was just wonderful to see that, people are embracing, bringing people along for the ride, and for me as well, including my staff in big decisions, and making it not about me but about all of us. And yes, you can have a vision, but you need to be, bringing everybody along with you. And when they're part of that process and part of the decision, you can, you get the accountability, and you get the results, and you get that commitment. So I mean, I'm stating the, five dysfunctions of a team, but when you, have the trust and all of that goes with that, it really does make a massive, massive difference.
And I think what you also mentioned at the beginning, these expectations, right? When from the
Yes.
very beginning, I think what is really nice about that is that there's almost like a promise in terms of, what you're going to deliver to business, but also what the business is going to give you. And I think that probably creates a massive buying again,
Yes.
because there's skin in the game, right? Like, I'm
Mm.
here in this company, and this is now has been almost a promise made that this is where we're going towards. And
Yeah.
obviously there's context and situation for those promises to say to become a reality, right? Like, if you have a thing like COVID, yeah, of course plans are going to change, right? So that's understandable. But within reason, to know that I'm being heard, they know what I want, because it's just really that at the end of the day, I think you're 50% there if people can tell you what they want and open up.
Yes.
And then it's almost like natural that things will eventually unfold. And
Yeah.
that's the simple thing to ask in that one-on-one, to say, what are you enjoying? Where do you want to go
Yes.
towards? And then
100%. I mean, I thought, everybody wanted more money, you just to pay them properly, and they're there to do a job. I was so wrong. People wanted, like, more time. And some were motivated by money, but we eventually found out by doing like a survey, what motivates you? And I mean, a 4.5 day week to leave early on a Friday would just be like so amazing. Oh my word! I don't. You mean I don't have to pay you anymore? I can actually just give you like some time off that is pretty much dead time in Cape Town anyway. So finding out what motivates people and tailoring your HR processes or whatever to that person, was also a big wake up call for me, because I just thought you just pay everybody properly and they're there to do a job, but it's not
yeah.
the case.
Yeah, and I guess you also feel like, what I appreciate, and then you kind of project that. But
Yeah.
when you give the space for people to speak, you will find different things.
Yeah.
And that's a trend in this year: crafting your HR practices to suit people, right? So instead of making a policy across board, this is how we go about this. It's
Yeah.
about like how you want things to be done, and then HR will. So obviously you need technology to help with that, because you can't have it's almost like not cost efficient to do
No,
it that.
100%.
But the idea is that the feeling of you create your career in terms of the training that you do, the opportunities for where you want to go in the business, and it starts with you, and HR facilitates that. But I also believe it's the right way to do it. Like looking at the future of work in
Yeah.
terms of how companies need to create a competitive advantage over their people. It's like, let the
Yeah.
people decide where they want to go and how to get there.
How to get the best out of everybody, because everybody's different. And you might have this incredible employee, but they just want Wednesday afternoons off because they have love karate or whatever, and that's the only time they can go. And I mean, how can you structure then their work time and around their happiness, and making it fit for them, because it's not a one size fits all. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, very true. I did see, by the way, in your website that you have a badge of the 4.5 day of
Yeah.
work week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
How is
do.
that going? How is it being received?
No, it's been amazing, and there's a lot of hype around it because on a Thursday it's like, oh, who are the lucky people tomorrow? Because it's only once every 2 weeks. So there's a 5 day team, and then there's a 4.5 day team per week, and they shift. But it's been really, really fantastic, and it's worked really, really well.
Mm.
So yeah, no, it's great. We did such a great exercise about maybe a little bit longer, maybe even pre-COVID. I can't remember exactly, but we had this fun exercise called "If You Were MD for a Day," and we interviewed our entire team, and we said, if you were MD for a day, or if you were MD of this business, what would you implement into the company? And we got 36 new ideas, and we implemented 16. And
Wow.
4.5 day week was one of them. The mentorship program was another of them. 25 days leave was another one. Christmas holidays free was another one. A counselor on call. So we actually asked our staff if you were MD of this company, and we ended up getting these 36 ideas, and we implemented 16 of them. So it was very
That's
cool.
amazing because I'm sure also from your side, obviously the business is a business. So
Yeah,
you obviously track your, revenue profitability as you implement this different structure. So how was that? Did it have a positive effect on growing the company?
So Rose, post COVID, I think we've grown at over. I don't want to get the figures wrong, about over about 35 to 40% year on year since we rebranded to Happy Friday, and since we've really put our team first. It has been unbelievable, the growth since. Look, we came off of quite a, COVID was bad. Let's just get that straight. But we have really recovered almost to back where we were pre-COVID. I mean, we put a proper recovery a plan in place. We put our staff first. We did some amazing initiatives to ensure that it's not just Happy Friday, happy people make happy work for a words on a page. We really do live and breathe it, and we are very, very supportive of our staff. And it's not my when I talk to the Exco team and to our shareholders, it's not our responsibility to make them happy. It's our responsibility to create the environment to make them happy. I can't make you happy, only you can make you happy. But if we're creating this environment, then that's what our job is to create this happy fun. And you go into our offices, and there's it's just a super happy fun environment. So yeah, that's what our mantra became. Happy people make happy work, and that's very close to our heart now, and it has made a massive difference to our bottom line. Yes.
Mm. Yeah, I haven't been to offices, but I must say I do consulting, right? So I go to a lot of offices and for HR, and there's always this thing around the CEO or the person, the founder of the business, the personality, how they are. That's very much in the imprint of how the business run. And if there's one thing about you, Lesley, your energy, like you enter a room and you feel it, like you are. So I can understand why, like that, how that translated into you creating that environment so that people can feel it and really be an environment where they can thrive and do their best.
Yeah, I mean, that is absolutely our goal.
And then now in your position that you have transitioned in the last couple of years, what I would love to know is you look at the business with like a more, not a daily involvement I take, but from a people point of side, what are you looking at as, I don't know, your position, are you part of the board or what did you say you are
I'm
at the moment?
I'm the chairman of the board. Yeah.
Okay. So when you look at the business and when you assess the people side of things, what questions do you ask? What do you want to know from a people point of view on the business?
My first question is, obviously, are you happy? How are you doing? And I think that's, that happiness monitor is totally important to us, and it's what we measure it on. But you know, if I speak to the staff, it's also a question around how is the current the two CEOs that I have in place, how are they performing and how are they ensuring that this value, this culture, this team spirit is being upheld. So I often get feedback from the people on the ground about the current leadership team, and it's super positive. And I think if you've got the right values, you've got the right vision in place, you build the culture around some HR practices that you put in place, you look out for each other, you've got that trusting that trust that's built between everybody. I think that it can only be a recipe for success.
Mm. Yeah, that's really lovely to hear because at the end of the day, HR is being seen as an internal department, one, again, not revenue making, but actually, trying, I guess, cost efficiency. That's what we strive for. But as a person that sits in the board, what is that you look at when it comes to the people practices? You obviously want to know hires and fires and, the things, more structural to the business. But
Yes.
you also want to know, because it's quite key for your operation and how you build the culture of your business, are people happy? That's kind of like the one thing that I guess that legacy again, that transferring of how you do business to the next leadership team. That's what kind of makes it for you. Ask on the ground and then you kind of get your answers.
Yeah. No, that I mean, as you know, I'm not operational, so and I do go into the office every now and again, but there's just always such a nice vibe, and I've kept a lot of relationships with the people that have been there for years. I mean, since COVID, and the core team that we've kept, I don't think we've lost one person in the last 5 years. I mean, I honestly think that we've only hired, I mean, maybe one designer and somebody else, but honestly, no key staff has actually left in the last 5 years. I mean, which
That's so impressive.
it's amazing. Yeah, it really, really is. So, I look at the CEOs that I have in place, and they're doing a fantastic job. So I'm super proud of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, if you think in the last 5 years, we went through like the trending, quite quitting and the great resignation. So the fact that you have not lost people speaks volumes of how the company operates. And yeah, that's definitely a measure of success, I would say.
Yeah, no, super happy with that little statistic.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lesley. That was really enlightening, again, because of the position that you held in your company currently. So understand from, walking a journey of establishing a business, growing it, and then handing it over to the next level of, for the next executive team to continue going. What a lovely trajectory. And I guess one that a lot of founders strive for, right? And I'm sure it feels really rewarding to be in your position. And then I guess because you also have a service, you're quite like inclined for service with the new things that you do in terms of would come to boardroom. It's all about pouring that knowledge that you have learned over the years to the newer generations on how to do business. I'd love to hear how that's going for you.
My over the rainbow business just fills my cup. I mean, whilst my agency is amazing, it's still a corporate business, and it still needs to be run in a specific way, and this that's got its own challenges from a day to day. But my over the rainbow business is a real give back business, transferring of knowledge and skills, as you say, something that I completely love. And when I also did the work on myself and realized what makes me happy, what are my strengths, and when I looked at what my strengths were, and I dug deep, and I realized that this is what I want to do. I want to help small businesses learn and grow. And that's why having over the rainbow as my other give back business is such a blessing, because I feel that I'm so fulfilled in helping other small businesses. And that's really what I want, because South Africa needs entrepreneurs. The unemployment is at an all-time high, as we know. And if we can create more entrepreneurs, more successful businesses, this country is just a better place for it. And yeah, I just want to do my little bit uh, wherever I can. So
Yeah.
that's my real legacy, to see people like you, Rose, who have learned to grow, been on our program, and look at you now. I mean, just thriving and hiring people and being amazing. So absolutely, more of you.
And I can only hope after 26 years of running my business that I have your energy, Lesley, because honestly, it's contagious.
Yeah, you will. You will. Absolutely. When you love what you do, you're happy.
Great. Thank you so much, Lesley, for your time. I really appreciate it. And yeah, looking forward to just continue witnessing the growth, of your business and also of your initiatives. I'm such an advocate for everybody to join.
Thank you so much, Rose. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Nice, sweetie. Bye.